Buonasera a tutti e benvenuti all'Istituto Italiano di Cultura di Los Angeles. Good evening, everyone. I am Emanuele Amendola, the director of the Italian Cultural Institute in Los Angeles, and I am very happy to welcome you tonight for this book presentation with acclaimed film director Gabriele Muccino. This evening is an evening of many firsts. I know this might sound a little strange, but let me contextualize. Tonight is the first time that we reopen our institute for an event after a very long time. So thank you very much for being here with us tonight. But tonight is also the first time that we organize a live streaming from this stage. And hopefully there won't be any hiccups, but you will be patient with us as this is the first time and we're trying our best. But I also would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's connecting with us online from all parts of the country. And last, but this is a first for me only, this is the first time that I speak from this podium. I have just started my position at the IIC Los Angeles, and it's a great honor for me to be here. What is not new to the Institute and to the city of Los Angeles is Filming Italy, a festival organized by Tiziana Rocca and Agnus Dei, which has become a much-loved appointment in the calendar of Italian cinema events in this city. The festival started yesterday at the Harmony Gold Theater in Hollywood and continues today with this presentation and will end tomorrow with a closing ceremony. So a big thank you and congratulations to Tiziana Rocca for putting together such a great initiative that for the first time, and yes, this is another first, this year is available both in person and online. If you haven't, please check out the platform mymovies.it/FILA to watch the incredible number of screenings and programs that are available. As part of the festival tonight, we are very proud to host Gabriele Muccino, who will be presenting his fascinating autobiography La Vita Addosso Io, il cinema e tutto il resto, in conversation with cinema and literature professor Gian Maria Annovi from the University of Southern California. Following the presentation, we will have a few questions from our audience, so please feel free to ask your question through your Zoom client at any time during the streaming, and we will try to answer to as many as possible later. We will also have a little surprise at the end, so please stay with us throughout the streaming. I will leave the task to introduce Gabriele Muccino to our expert, Professor Annovi. I'm not a film critic, and listing the number of achievements and the career highlights that Gabriele Muccino had, it's quite a task. It's actually a task that required a book. So it's a very much welcome addition, the publication of this autobiography. Let me just tell you something a little personal about my first encounter with Gabriele Muccino. I was in high school, and it was the time when one of his most famous movies, L'ultimo bacio, The Last Kiss, was released in Italy. I still remember so vividly the interest and the excitement around the film, and me and my friends discussing it, and oh my God, if they could see me today with you here. But let me tell you that that film really captured a generation of Italians. It captured a part of our society, and more than anything, it wasn't a one-off, because film after film, Muccino continued to depict our society and have an impact on our lifestyle. He's also one of the few examples of Italian film directors who managed to have a very successful career in the United States, and this is not a small achievement. So grazie mille Gabriele per essere con noi stasera. Tonight's conversation will be led by our good friend Gian Maria Annovi. Professor Annovi studied philosophy and contemporary Italian literature at the University of Bologna and received his PhD from Columbia University. He is the editor and author of the Italian Neo-avant-garde and Pier Paolo Pasolini. Gian Maria's main interests are 20th century Italian literature, cinema, and visual arts. Tonight, we are here celebrating Italian cinema, and I know I've been talking for a while now, but please give me another few moments of your attention, because as we are here celebrating films and the fact that we are again together, I would like to invite you to take a moment and join me in a moment of reflection upon the tragic events that are unfolding in Ukraine these days. We debated a lot whether we should go on with our programs as many people are suffering and are living extremely dark moments. And while this event and this festival is a sign of our rebirth and restart after 2 long years of pandemic, we can't ignore what's happening and how this is an urgent reminder that peace is a value that should never be taken for granted. Our world is so interconnected that everyone is affected by what happens in other countries, no matter how far we are. And this conflict really regards each and every one of us, and I would like to express my gratitude to all the talents that are participating to Filming Italy 2022 and that chose this platform to send a message of peace and hope. And now I am very happy to call on stage for her welcome remarks Tiziana Rocca, General Director of Filming Italy, Los Angeles. Tiziana.
I would like to thank you, the Italian Institute of Culture, Emanuele Mendola. I would like to thank you also the Italian Consul, Silvia Chiave. And really, it's very emotionally for me to be here after 2 years of the pandemic, to again in person. Yesterday was the first night opening of the festival, and it was really an emotion to have the public, the audience in front of us. Today, we are here after 2 years, the Italian Institute of Culture, and I'm very happy to share with all of you that follow us by streaming in this presentation of the book, La Vita Addosso, I think Wearing the Life of Gabriele Muccino. I read the book, it's really very deep and very emotionally, his life, and for that reason I immediately would love to invite on the stage Gabriele Muccino. And thanks to the Professor Gian Maria Annovi that accept to introduce this conversation, this presentation. Filming Italy, Los Angeles, 7th edition, and welcome everybody. Thank you.
Are we on? Okay. Good evening, buonasera, and welcome to our special guest, Gabriele Muccino. Tonight, as you heard, we are going to talk about his book entitled La Vita Addosso. It's an autobiography in which he discusses quite candidly, I must say, his life, but above all his cinema. So before asking you a few questions, let me just say that you represent a somewhat unique phenomenon in Italian cinema. To paraphrase the Italian version of the title of one of Alfred Hitchcock's most famous films, Vertigo, in Italian, La donna che visse 2 volte, I think we can say that you are a director who lived twice. In your first life, you introduced a new fresh grammar to Italian cinema, which combined the reverence for some of the master of Italian cinematographic tradition, De Sica above all, but also with pop culture, that was a novelty, and I would say almost obsessive attention to formal precision in directing. Your second life started when you made your entrance in the Hollywood film industry from the front door, with the incredible success of movies such as The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, and we'll talk about that. So that second life came to an end when you decided to move back to Italy. However, you now seem to have more projects than ever. You just presented your first TV series, and you're relatively young for Italian standards. You know, we're always young in Italy. So, in short, you seem to have entered a new phase of your career, maybe a third life. So why then you felt that it was time for you to write an autobiography? Is it a way to exercise the past or to reflect on it with a new perspective?
One of the reasons was because somebody asked me and made me realize that actually there was so much to be told that even myself had to scramble to find in a sort of spam file the things that I lived through, because having the lives you mentioned, making movies first in Italy, having a big success as The Last Kiss it was, which means that you get you get impacted by a tsunami of people who loves you and hates you, and you are not ready for this emotional event. You were not. I mean, I didn't sign to make movies to have success, but I wanted to make movies to tell to people who I was and what was my way to look at life, basically. So when the success hit me, things changed much, because suddenly I wasn't anymore the person I always felt to be, but I was the person that people projected on me. So I was a kind of I turned out to be a brand somewhat, and I even became an adjective, Mucciniano. So, which is, by the way, on a most important encyclopedia, how do you say, on the Treccani. Eh? Sulla Treccani, yes, how do you say the Treccani? It's anyway, it's whatever. I turned out to be way farther than I thought to go and to be. But there was when I thought that I already reached the peak of what I could do, things turned in a crazy way, because I won the Sundance Film Festival with The Last Kiss. Then I was signed by CA here in Los Angeles. Then I was about to make a movie with Al Pacino. Then I made the readings with Al Pacino and 4 different actresses to see what was the best chemistry. The movie ended up collapsing, but one of those actresses went to do, of course they met me and they wanted to see what kind of director I was. So they made their homework and they saw The Last Kiss, for example, and also the movie after The Last Kiss, which was Remember Me, My Love. So they knew me. One of those actresses, I was saying, after these readings with Al Pacino for a movie which was never done, went to make a movie with Will Smith called Hitch.
Yes, but you are anticipating too many things right now, you know. You're anticipating. You're already talking about your second life, so we're still at the first life.
Because the things are tied, so I don't know where to stop the first phase and second one. Okay, so I pull the brakes.
Yes, you have to pull the brakes because we are gonna start from the very beginning.
Okay. Stop.
So in La Vita Addosso, in fact, you talk very frequently about your childhood. So you were a shy child with a speech impediment at the time, who wanted to become a veterinarian.
At the time, yet even now, it's not really.
Well, you have a theory about that, though. I know you have a theory about that.
Yes, I do.
So you wanted to become a veterinarian, right? So, but cinema changed all of it. And can you tell us when and how did this passion for cinema originate and what effect it had on you?
Actually, the idea to become a movie director came overnight when I was 18, after acting for the school, for the high school, and being on a stage, and having the feeling to be part of something to share with an audience. So I was acting badly, of course. I was a very bad actor, but yet that thing suggested me that in order to feel integrated and to be myself, I had to give to someone else my voice, somewhat. So being also cinephile, because throughout my childhood or puberty, wherever, when I was really alone, because I like to be alone, partially I love to be alone. I love to be contemplating nature. I was breeding pigeons like Tyson. I was a weird guy, whatever. Anyway, and I was, on top of it, I was stuttering like crazy. So I couldn't really talk. I couldn't really pick up a girl. So that was really a problem for me. And I think for the human species.
So what you really wanted to say beside, like creating your own stylistic cipher?
I wanted to exist, literally. To exist, it meant to me really to portray my life and bring it on the screen. Of course, dramaturgically speaking, there was a great re-elaboration of the characters. There were 3 acts. There was an ending, which was an ending. Life, you never know if your love story is going to south or to north. So when you make a movie, at least you decide the end and the destiny and the fate of the characters. So I built those movies which were very personal, but also somewhat not too close. They weren't kind of a notebook of my life. They were thought to please an audience and to entertain an audience with things that I thought were entertaining enough, despite being very personal. Then the reason why I couldn't understand why The Last Kiss, for example, hit so many people the way, because really, there is a very high percentage of people who literally broke up right after the screening of my movie. They were coming in together and they were going out, fighting, yelling to each other because they were siding if the guy was siding with him and she was siding with her, there was a problem in the couple, and a lot of people broke up because of that. And that was one of the main reasons why the movie became so successful, because the entire group of friends start to fight about the movie and to divide. I mean, who was there back then remembers this phenomenon, which lasts at least 6 months. I mean, the movie stayed in the theaters for 6 months, which was enormous. And when I made the movie, the guy, because when I made the book, because the book actually it is a long interview, like Truffaut and Hitchcock, just to make a little example that I want to compare. But anyway, it's a long interview given to me by a film critic who pushed me against the ropes to really let me tell what I felt, what I thought, how do I see myself now versus back then, etc. And I realized that actually I wasn't ready for anything that happened. I just kept flowing and going with the current of the river, which brought me eventually also here.
Yeah.
But somewhat the way I kept doing things wasn't much different. Do you want me to rewind and go back to the place?
No, I don't want you to do anything. Actually, we got at the perfect spot because we are at the crossroads between your Italian life and your American life, because it was the last kiss, as you were saying before, that brought you to Hollywood, thanks to Will Smith, who watched it and really liked it and decided he wanted to work with you. And you already had an experience with Miramax that was a little bit complicated before, but it was really Smith who brought you to Columbia Pictures.
Yes.
And in the book, I like that because you never really portray yourself as in a fictional way. You really expose also your weaknesses. So you say that when you arrived there, your words with your broken English at the time, you basically said that you didn't understand anything that was going on. So what exactly happened at that moment in your life?
At the moment I was bluffing a lot because my English was pretty poor. I was like a tourist, thrown into the Columbia's office of the president with this bunch of guys who were trying to do the best to kick me out of the game. Because, of course, I mean, The Pursuit of Happiness was the script that a lot of directors were pursuing. And they were all Americans. Some of them even won an Oscar before, so they couldn't figure out why Will Smith wanted me and only me. But the fact was that he was ready to go to Warner Brothers, to another studio, and to make it with them. And I couldn't really understand why me. I mean, what the hell I told you that you made you fall in love with my vision so much? Because it was kind of almost insane. But it was unremovable. And so at the end of the day, even when Aimé Pascal, who was the chief of Columbia back then, asked me, tell me, why, if you don't speak really good English, you never worked in this country, and you never had this type of budget, why should we hire you? Having Will Smith, who's the biggest movie star in the planet, we want him to win an Oscar. Why we should get you? Because there is no reason, right? And I agreed with her. There was no reason at all. The only thing I could say was, listen, I think that if you get me, you don't win once, but you win twice. Nonsense completely, but they laughed. They said, but that thing broke the ice somewhat, because actually there was not something that could really express or convince them the way another director speaking proper English, being grown up in this country, so being culturally also ready to face a journey of an Afro-American in the 80s in San Francisco, looking for a job in the financial district and sleeping with the son in a bathroom or in a homeless shelter. I didn't have any experience of those in my life, not even from far, because in the 80s I was in the high school in Rome and I wasn't going 5 miles farther than my high school. And even North America was seen like an exotic country where I didn't know anything. So, but the fact is that I'm really sensitive, and I learned that beside being very grounded, and often I speak pretty harshly about myself. I'm severe. I mean, when I have to say something which I don't like, I don't make discounts about me. But one thing that I recognize is that I'm really kind of sponge. So wherever I go, I feel things that I'm not even realizing I'm absorbing. So I ended up making that movie, Pursuit of Happiness, set in 1984 in San Francisco. And by then, when we were shooting, I spent a lot of time in homeless shelters. I met with the real homeless, with the real financial brokers. I knew things. So I knew things, and I was kind of comfortable in giving direction, or even hard direction. I wasn't easy with will. I didn't have the how do you say, I wasn't shy. I wasn't suffering the fact that he was a star and I was sort of the result of a miracle. I thought I was there, and once I was there for reasons that I couldn't understand, I had to make the best version of that movie possible. And my strength also came from the fact that I already had four movies in my pocket made in Italy, and 2 of them were very popular. So I always knew that there was a door behind me that I could open and go back to Italy and find my industry and people and my audience, etc. And this gave me an enormous strength when I was going and giving directions to actors and to the crew, because I was. Can I say I didn't give a shit? No, maybe it's too much.
You already said it, so yes.
Okay, I mean, it was kind of, I don't care if you don't like the way I am direct, but that's the movie I see. And ended up being the way.
About your way of directing actors, actually, I have a question about that. You talk a lot about your relationship with the actors on set in the book. And by the way, there's a lot to say also about your relationship with Will Smith, because you collaborated a lot. But I also want people, we shouldn't say tell everything, because people also should go and buy the book and read it entirely. But so you have a very physical way of directing actors on the stage. And these, based on what you say, brought 2 very difficult results. On the one hand, there was a great chemistry between the people, or complete chaos, right?
In one case, yes.
Okay,
One movie
yes.
was kind
So
of
my question is,
my way, yes.
yeah, so my question is, among all the actors you mentioned in your autobiography, who is the actor or actress, of course, who helped you more understand yourself as a director in your interaction with him or her, and who is maybe the one, but you kind of already responded, who really wasn't able to connect with you?
Fortunately, I 99.9% of the times I got along and get along with actors in a beautiful way, because I love so much the job they make, and I respect so much the talent and the instinct and the music that an actor follows naturally to go somewhere. So I'm a lucky baby in a Toy Story when I have an actor with a talent which gives me back so much. So usually they feel that I have a vision which is very clear, and actors need that. They need to be directed and to be guided. When they don't feel the direction, they get rightly nervous because they don't know if they are doing something right or wrong. So my natural way to lead actors, grab them and take them with the journey with me. If you ask me who was the actor who really understood the most of me and helped me the most, yes, the answer is pretty obvious. It was Will Smith, because he literally let me rewrite completely the scripts, I would say, because I've done 2 movies with him. So I rewrote the script in Italian, then my assistant was translating in English, and then I was rehearsing. We rehearsed for 5 weeks, both movies. And throughout the rehearsals, he fixed my English and made it right for the character, so it was authentic. So he was a real sparring partner, a real partner in every sense, by any means. So without the strength and the will that he had, keeping me alone in my creative process, without the interference of producers or else, I would never have done the movies I've done with him the way they turned out. They would have been a sort of nor fish nor fall, yeah. More likely. I also had a very good relationship with Russell Crowe, I have to say, in the 4th movie I've done, which is called Fathers and Daughters. But by then, many things already changed in the industry, because I spent here 12 years. Throughout 12 years, I made 4 movies. Many things changed, because at a certain point, House of Cards came into the game, and the needle moved drastically, because suddenly actors of A-list came to perform in TV. And this unbalanced completely the audience, which started to drift into television, into the platforms, and Hollywood went kind of crazy because they didn't know what to do, literally. So they bought Star Wars, and they are making and made multiple versions of it, and they made reboot and remakes, because honestly, I mean, what they are missing was the audience, the sophisticated audience for certain movies. So I think I grabbed the tail of the dragoon when an era was about to finish. Big major studios doing dramas because there was an audience for dramas, and those movies got released in 4,000 theaters domestically. Things that I don't know if are still happening, and if happen are really rare. So I was extremely lucky. Yes.
Look, I have a lot of questions, but the time that we have
is short.
We might have some questions from the audience. So let's see if there are any questions. If not, of course, I have plenty of things I can ask you because this was really very short.
I have a question.
So I'll have to repeat the question on the microphone because she's not mic'd. The question is from Alessandra Venezia, and I'm summarizing. Basically, she's asking how Gabriele Muccino dealt with the double nature of Hollywood, who's also can be a nasty place. And actually, thank you, because I also had a question about your adventures in Hollywood that were not always happy and funny. Mostly funny, though, I must say. Mostly funny.
Mostly funny. No, okay, yes. But also, part of the question was also
related to your good nature.
To my nature.
Good
because
nature.
It's true. I believe in humanity, but humanity is tricky. So I ended up touching the fire and get burned eventually, because Hollywood, as you said, is a very, very tricky place. I couldn't imagine that was going to be so tricky when I worked with Will, because as I said, I felt like nurtured. You say yes.
Nurtured.
So I felt lucky, and I thought that was Hollywood. The third movie, when Will was doing other things, he took a moment of his life. Stay with his children, etc., etc. I made another movie, which was the most unhappy experience of my entire career, because suddenly I found myself with 11 producers who didn't have a clue of my potential. It felt like I was a beginner, so that they treated me like someone who didn't have an idea on how to direct a movie. So they continuously asked me to change things. Even the way to shoot wasn't right for them. And then they started to rewrite the script, and I was receiving every afternoon, because I was in Louisiana shooting, I was receiving the new pages of each scene, which they were so full of dialogues. 3-4 pages for a scene, it's an enormous. It makes the scene dragging and slow, and the pace of my movies, which is based on short scenes, rarely longer than 1 page, was going to be killed. So I've seen those producers killing pretty much the movie I was doing, and I didn't have a manager back then or a producer with me trying to protect me. And there wasn't a Will Smith next to me saying, "Step back." So I really saw a train wreck happening in front of my eyes, and I was on the, I was the helmer, I was the pilot of this train, and I couldn't stop it. So that was really painful and hurt my soul, and my belief in human decreased enormously, because I realized how bad I could be, how badly I could be injured deep into my soul. I was so deeply injured at the end of the journey, which was extremely long, because the movie started as a dramedy. Actually, it was a dramedy, which is kind of my cup of tea. And halfway through, they decided that the movie was going to be a romantic comedy, which is all a different genre. And there wasn't the structure for a romantic comedy. But when they tested the movie and they recruit people, they were recruiting people asking to see a romantic comedy. They were getting disappointed because there wasn't nothing like it, and the movie tested bad. So I stayed on board of that nightmare for a long period, and I went back to Louisiana to reshoot at least 3 or 4 times. And by the end of the day, when the movie released and didn't do well, I was destroyed by the experience. And I even wondered if I was a good director or not, because they poisoned me so much, somewhat, that I was doubtful about my talent itself.
Your talent.
Then, when I was about to go back to work and live in Italy, and a movie came out. This was Fathers and Daughters with Russell Crowe and Amanda Seyfried. The movie, it was a much smoother journey, but yet I was already so wounded that I wanted to go back to my country, because I wanted to refine the freedom, the creative freedom that I experienced when I first made the movies in Italy. I re-experienced with the first 2 features, and I was missing so much. I was really missing so much to be centered again. So I went back to Italy. This happened 5 years ago, and I made right away. I made 2 features almost back to back. One is called No Place Like Home, and the other one is called The Best Years. And both movies performed very well, despite the second one opened 3 weeks before the pandemic hit us. So the pandemic hit us. So basically, the box office is still very, very good, but wasn't what it would have done without that. But yet, the movie turned out very well. A lot of people saw it. So I refound myself as a filmmaker, as a leader, I refound happiness somewhat, and it's kind of a third life cycle of my life. And then ultimately, I even done a TV series based on...
Sorry if I interrupt you, because there's actually a question from a member of our online audience, which concerns your TV series. But I also have to say that we cannot take any more questions because the time is short, and we also need to have a few minutes for the surprise who's waiting for us. So yes, you just presented your first TV series, and someone from the audience is asking what's the difference between shooting a TV series and shooting a film, I guess for you, not in general.
For me, I had this great luxury to work for a network, which is for a company, which is Sky, and they allow me total freedom. So I rewrite the script, I direct all the episodes, and I kept the language, the cinematic language of my movies. So I made a TV series exactly like if it was a feature. And I kept learning, because everything I do, I learn something. And so I kept learning things. And so I've done the first season. I will do the second season in a few months, and then I think then I will go back to doing features who knows if for platforms or for theaters, or I hope theaters, but right today, nobody knows what is going to be happening in 2 days from now.
Well, that's the beauty of life. Look, I really would like to continue talking to you. It was really a pleasure, and I'm sorry we had little time. But I really do encourage our audience to keep your conversation with you at home with your book. And so thank you so much for your generosity. And I'm going to leave the stage once again to the director of Italian Cultural Institute. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Gabriele, first of all, let me say thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much to Professor Annovi for brilliantly moderating this conversation. But how could you come to LA and not go back with an award? So,
Yes.
So we have here the IIC Los Angeles Creativity Award for you, which is an award from our Italian Cultural Institute. It's a prize designed by designer Emilio Cavallini, and it's inspired by the dome of the Pantheon in Rome.
Ah, nice.
So
Very
it's
nice.
our city. And
I recognize it now, right.
this is for you, Gabriele, for inspiring us so much with your art,
Oh, thanks.
with your films, and for touching all our lives.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me here. And yes, if you read the book, you will see so many crazy things you can't imagine. So, thank you very much.
Grazie. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today. Thank you so much to everyone who followed us online. And please continue to follow our activities and continue to follow Filming Italy tomorrow at Harmony Gold Theatre and online on mymovies.it. Arrivederci.
Thank you.
Grazie.
Arrivederci, grazie. Thanks.